What's up, dudes? Max here, back from the first day of E3 2017, and some impressions and footage of a game you probably already have seen on this channel a couple of times today, which is Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, this was one of the most anticipated games of the show for me, and probably is my game of the show right now, ever since its announcement, my reaction, and the fact that the game actually looks that damn good. The biggest thing I wanted to talk about in this video is my overall thoughts, impressions, what it feels like, what it plays like, the characters, how they look and act, and everything about Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball FighterZ, that I could possibly answer in this video. And the first thing is the overall controls. I made a quick video just earlier today, going over the mechanics while I was live at the show, talking about the button layout and everything like that. To kind of clear that up, it is a 4-button fighter, technically, with 2 assist buttons. Although this was only on controller at the show, there was several combination of buttons like Y and B and X and A and everything like that that were mapped to the bumpers and the triggers. But for the most part, this can absolutely be played on an arcade stick. There's 3 attack buttons, a light attack, a medium attack, and a heavy attack that is sort of like a launcher that goes into a wall bounce or a launcher itself, and there's a special button that is like a projectile. The biggest thing I wanted to talk about are the buttons that are mapped to the RB switch as well as the RT switch, which is fairly interesting. In the game right now, there's a few mechanics that aren't really being talked about. The biggest one is like this pursuit button. I can't remember exactly what it's called in the game, but essentially your character gets the ability to rush towards the opponent wherever they are on the screen. And it isn't a direct one-to-one tracking, but it generally will send your character towards the other character's direction, allowing you to kind of attack towards them. This can be used without combos, it can be used without launchers, but the real purpose of it is to launch a character from a heavy attack, to throw them into the air or into the wall, and then you press the pursuit button, and your character flies over to them, allowing you to continue your combo, and it's pretty damn awesome and feels really good. The other button that was interesting was the RB, or technically R1 button, which acts very much like Dust in Guilty Gear, where your character rushes forward for an attack and then launches them into the air after punching multiple times. It's not exactly like the Dust button in Guilty Gear Xrd, but it is sort of like it because I'm pretty sure it was an overhead and it launches the opponent into the sky. The funny thing is that you can do it in the air, and it does something very similar where it pushes you forward and you try to catch the opponent with it. So if someone does not tech out of a air situation, kind of like Guilty Gear when you press like Faultless Defense and you get out of something in the air and you can tech out, you can actually get hit by this thing multiple times and it just keeps relaunching you into the air if you're not ready for it, which is kind of funny to look at. In terms of the game's feel and overall just how the gameplay functions, this really feels like Guilty Gear Xrd combined with Marvel vs. Capcom 2. The assist features and a lot of the overall engrossing mechanics are very similar to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but a lot of the combat and the gameplay itself, including the chain combos and the air dashing and everything like that, is pretty much a Guilty Gear game. A combination of a couple of buttons would also give you a burst-like Roman cancel style attack. I wasn't too sure exactly how to use it, but you could absolutely use it like a red Roman cancel, and your character would get this giant red ring around them, and they would be engulfed in red flames for a little bit. And no one could really figure out what exactly was going on with this thing other than if it did hit your opponent, it would send them into a stun state. So if you had a super long and ridiculous combo, you can essentially do this at the end of it and keep the combo going, and it's pretty damn good. Although I do think it works in a similar fashion to a burst of some kind in Guilty Gear, although I don't believe I've been able to burst out of things yet. It's kind of hard to remember. I did play about 3 hours of the game, and I didn't get to test that mechanic directly, but there is something that acts kind of like a red Roman cancel, but a little bit easier. That's one thing I definitely got to mention with the game. It is absolutely a more accessible fighter than something like Guilty Gear Xrd, which is kind of difficult at a surface level, and it takes a little while to get good at, and then when you get good at it, it gets really good. This game is designed to be easy to play. Like I said, it takes a lot of stuff from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and the biggest one is like a universal combo structure. The things you can do with the characters kind of applies to every single character. How you can do a chain series of attacks, follow up with a wall bounce, go for something else, and it works with every single character, and I was kind of playing a lot of the characters the exact same. There was one really cool move that you can do that costs 1 bar, and it teleports behind your opponent immediately. I think it comes out in like 1 or 2 frames. It feels really fast, and that goes behind and kicks the opponent into the wall. It does take 1 bar, but it is like a natural combo extender, and kind of will track onto the opponent wherever they are on the screen. I have noticed if they're falling, it doesn't track for a 1-to-1 type of thing, but it does a pretty good job at getting you in there for the cost of 1 bar and teleporting behind your opponent. But using that in conjunction with how the combo system works was allowing me to figure out some pretty long and hefty combos with a lot of the characters. Like, right now, the most difficult motions for anyone is a fireball back and fireball forward. There was not much on the move list for the majority of the characters that were in the build, which was only about 6. So we're talking like fireball forward, fireball back. I don't even know if there was a Shoryuken motion. There might have been a couple of down-down motions in there, but it was not difficult. And to execute supers, it was simply a fireball with 2 attack buttons, or a fireball with like the right bumper, or R2 or something like that. And there were level 3s, there was a level 5 on Gohan, which I showed a bit earlier, and also usual level 1s. There is absolutely DHCs in the game to DHC into your next assist character. They're attached to the left bumper and right trigger, which is assist 1 and assist 2. You simply do the motion, whatever super you want them to do with their assist button, and you'll get that super. And usually characters had 2 to 3 supers, so you could kind of pick and choose which one you want, and it kind of worked just fine. It's like a DHC, but you do it a little bit differently. Overall, just combining all this stuff together, it is a very accessible fighter. It became very easy to play, and there is absolutely mash combos to get big combos. Pretty much by just pressing X or Y in any combination, or just mashing X, you get a full ground chain into a launcher, into an air combo, into a smash down. And normally that allows, you would have to press like 2 or 3 different buttons to get the ground chain into the pursuit button after the launcher, a couple other buttons into a heavy attack to launch them down. And you can kind of simplify that down to 1 single button in the build currently. The one thing you cannot do is change characters' assists right now, which I'm thinking will actually be changed in the future. Each character kind of did a definite amount of assists, like whatever that assist attack was is what it was. So I'm thinking that that is just an early thing. I do hope you can choose the different assist types for the characters, because there is some crazy stuff you can do with assists. You can literally call in an assist character at any point. So if you're jumping in the air, doing attacks, unless you're being hit, you can call in an assist character, and you don't have to wait for one to get the other. You can call both of them in at the same time. Like, you can fill the screen with both of your assists, and they do a lot, man. The trade-off for them doing a lot is the fact that they recover not too fast. You have to wait for them to get their assist availability back up, so there is a little bit of a trade-off, and they are quite vulnerable. I found myself getting big happy birthday combos on quite a few people that were throwing out assists too much, and you can punish very, very, very hard. And if anyone's curious, you do recover life in the back, similar to Marvel vs. Capcom games. So if you have a lot of red health, you can put them in the back, and they do start recovering that red health as well. But yeah, just getting over all the mechanics and everything, the game is just a treat. Like, it represents so much of what I love about fighting games. Just over-the-top, insane action, stuff looks ridiculously cool while you're doing it, it pulls in a spectacle, and you're kind of in awe. I know with a lot of fighting games, the graphics kind of go away after playing the game for like an hour to 2 hours, and then you really start learning it. You don't really see the graphics anymore, and you really focus on the gameplay if that's what you're looking for. And that happens in the majority of fighting games for me. And right now, Dragon Ball, just the visuals are just ridiculous, man. Even with myself that doesn't really know a lot about the Dragon Ball universe, can absolutely appreciate the characters and the references and all the love and care that is going into this game at a very early development, which it's only about 20% done according to the developers. And it's still going to be coming out apparently early next year. Overall, the game just feels right. It takes the mechanics of something that already works so well, which is Guilty Gear Xrd and its graphic style, and applies it to Dragon Ball characters as well as a 3 vs 3 tag engine that takes a whole bunch from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but is much more open-ended than Marvel 2 and allows you to do a lot more kind of crazy stuff, which is very fun to say the least. You'll have there will be a lot of time at the beginning of this game dedicated just to figuring out the basic combo structure, and then you kind of play every character the same, because the characters don't have a ton of inherent depth. But similar to Marvel vs. Capcom classic games, which is the same appearance on surface level, you start playing it a little bit more and you start discovering more, and this character gets a nuanced thing, and that character that gets that kind of thing, and this guy gets that setup. That really feels like the case with this game, and I was still just going over the base mechanics early on. And man, it's just a blast. I can't wait to play more. I can't wait to play more characters. I can't wait to see what happens on the interactions of the stages. It is freaking amazing to see at the end of a match you kick someone into a building or kick them through rocks as they fly into an entire mountain and the mountain explodes, or blow up half of the planet. And when you come back to the match for the next character that shows up to fight, the planet is like with this brimstone and fire. You destroyed the world. That stuff is just ridiculously awesome, and it really is the description I always have in my head of when I describe a really cool fighting game and the cool things you can do in it. You can pretty much do that stuff in Dragon Ball FighterZ, and the game is not even done yet, so I'm only curious with what more stuff they're going to put in, and more references, and more everything like that. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of the gameplay I got from the show. I'll be back to try to put up some more, and if you do want to see more of the gameplay I have from the show, I'm going to have quite a bit. I've probably got about an hour of footage left, so if you want to see that, leave me a comment below, or leave a thumbs up on the video, and I'll do my best to render some out as soon as possible. But that's about it right now for Dragon Ball FighterZ, or Dragon Ball FighterZ. I'll be back with more as soon as possible. My name is Max, and I'll see you dudes next time.